Some people get rescued once and start thinking they're saints. Don't forget who pulled you off that bathroom floor. That's how Ethan's mother greeted me at our engagement dinner. Not a joke, not a whisper. She said it loud enough for the white tablecloth room to pause. Crystal clinked. Someone laughed to fill the air. I didn't. I froze with a smile that hurt. The restaurant's chandeliers threw a soft gold across the plates, and every eye slid toward me, then back to her, then to Ethan, waiting to see if I'd pass the test. He squeezed my knee under the table. "She is," he said. "She knows." I nodded. My throat felt tight. I lifted my glass and tasted nothing. The waiter hovered, refilling champagne like this was just another happy night. Ethan's parents sat tall in their velvet chairs. My dad smoothed his tie like he was fixing me by fixing fabric. The room hummed with polite talk, the kind that hides little knives. Ethan's mom leaned closer, perfume sweet and heavy. "You're lucky my son believes in second chances." "I'm lucky," I said, steady voice, tight smile. The table relaxed. Someone laughed again. I held the stem of my glass until my fingers went numb. Across the table, my dad cleared his throat. "Just take care of the man who took care of you," he said. He meant well. It still landed like a rule. I swallowed and nodded. I felt my face burn. The night had a shine to it, the polished cutlery, the white roses, the little candles, but it pressed on my chest like a weight. When the toast started, Ethan stood. "To love that heals," he said. "To the people who never gave up." The table cheered. I clapped too because that's what brides do. My smile held. My hands shook under the linen napkin. "Look at her," his mother whispered to me while everyone drank. "You glow again." "I feel lucky," I said. I sounded like a brochure. The waiter announced dessert. The conversation softened, the way it does when everyone's fed and satisfied. I wasn't. I sat there with sugar on my tongue and a stone behind my ribs, thinking how quickly gratitude becomes a leash when people hold the other end. I didn't tell them the part that didn't fit their script. I didn't tell them how it began. Seattle, winter, rain on glass so loud it sounded like static. I woke up to the sharp smell of antiseptic and the blur of a ceiling I didn't know. The ambulance felt both too big and too small. There was a man in a navy jacket, steady hands, calm eyes. "You're not weak," he said. "You're just tired." I couldn't answer. My tongue felt heavy. My fingers curled around his wrist like the world would end if I let go. He stayed longer than he had to. He kept talking in a normal voice, not the voice people use on broken things. At the hospital, he came by after his shift. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm around." "Thanks," I whispered, and hated how it sounded like I was begging. 2 months later, sober and living in a rented studio, I saw him again, coffee shop near the rehab center. I was buying a muffin I didn't want just to stand somewhere that wasn't a meeting room. He smiled like he'd been waiting. "Guess you made it out of that ambulance." I did. We sat. We talked for hours, not about recovery, about rain and podcasts and the dog he wanted but didn't have time for. He walked me home. It started to rain again. "You know, most people don't change," he said, handing me his umbrella. "You might be the exception." I laughed. "Don't jinx it." I didn't know how to take kindness without making change. I said thank you too many times. He waved it off. "Don't thank me." Just keep going, I did. Weeks became a rhythm. Late calls, long walks by the pier, the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. He checked on me every day. "Did you eat? Did you go to the meeting?" It felt like care. It also felt like being watched. I didn't have words for that yet. Friends said, "He's good for you." I said, "He saved me." I thought it was love. Maybe it was. Maybe it was also something else. A year later, I worked part-time at a bookstore. He picked me up after my shift and drove me to dinner at his parents' house. 7 plates on a long oak table, soft music, perfect napkins. His father poured wine with 2 hands like it was a ceremony. After the roast and the salad and the story about his uncle's retirement, Ethan stood and pushed his chair back. He wasn't dramatic, just sure. He got down on one knee, ring open in his palm. His mother's hand flew to her mouth. "He's always been drawn to helping people," she said to no one and everyone. I stared at him and saw the ambulance, the coffee shop, the umbrella. I heard him say, "You're not weak." I felt the weight of every thank you I had ever said. "You're the reason I'm still here," I whispered. "Then say yes." I did. The room filled with applause. He slid the ring on my finger. He stood and kissed my cheek. Everyone clapped again. Under the noise, there was a thin, private quiet that didn't leave. Tonight's engagement dinner felt like part 2 of that moment, now with better lighting. 8 guests, polite laughter, champagne, the kind of place where waiters float and floors don't squeak. Ethan kept a hand on my knee. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," I said. "It's a lot." "It's good," he said. "We're good." The waiter cleared plates. My dad leaned closer. "He gave you a chance, kiddo." "I gave me one too," I said. My voice came out light. "Sure," he chuckled, "but he opened the door." I pressed my napkin flat, smiled. "Yeah, he did." Ethan's co-worker, Mike, the one who always smelled like mint, lifted his glass again. "To Ethan," he said. "A real hero." "To Ethan," the table echoed. I raised my glass because that's what you do. The stem slipped a little in my fingers. I tightened my grip. My hand felt cold. The dessert came. Lemon tart with burnt sugar and a raspberry that looked placed by a ruler. It was perfect. I tasted it and tasted nothing. On our way out, the host called, "Congratulations." The lobby was all marble and quiet. Outside, the rain had started again, steady and cold. Ethan shrugged off his jacket and settled it on my shoulders before I could protest. "You didn't have to save me," I said. "I meant the jacket. I meant the ambulance. I meant the year." "I wanted to," he said. "You already did." He looked at me differently then. Proud, possessive. "Then don't forget that." Something in me flinched, just a flicker. I smoothed it away. I smiled. We stepped into the rain and a taxi splashed by, spraying the curb. He pulled me closer, laughing. I laughed too. At home, he fell asleep on the couch with his arm draped over me, the TV flickering faint blue across our faces. I stared at the ceiling until the light made patterns I didn't want to read. The next morning, he was gone for his shift. The ring caught the sun and flashed like it had its own voice. My phone buzzed. From my sister. "You look happy. I'm glad he found you." From his mother. "Welcome to the family, sweetheart. You're one of us now." I stared at the words, "found you." I pressed the phone face down on the counter and stood very still. That evening, my dad called. "You're doing good, honey. That man really turned your life around." "I turned it around too, Dad." "Sure," he said, "but he gave you the chance." Silence stretched. I could hear the TV in his background, a laugh track, a canned cheer. "Yeah," I said finally. "He did." My voice sounded smaller than I felt. Later, back on the couch, the TV flickered again. Ethan drifted to sleep with his arm heavy across my ribs. I watched the shadows move along the wall like they were counting. "Thank you," I whispered. His eyes didn't open. "For what?" "For everything." He smiled in his sleep. "Just don't forget it." I stared at the window. Rain drew gray lines down the glass. My chest rose and fell, slow and careful. That night, I learned gratitude can sound a lot like obedience. The first call came on a Tuesday night while the pasta water hissed and the house smelled like basil. "Sweetheart, we're behind on the mortgage again." My mother's voice shook like she was afraid someone would hear her asking. I turned away from the stove so Amir wouldn't see my face. "How much?" "Just 3,000. We'll pay you right back. You know your father's waiting for his pension." Amir glanced over from the cutting board. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "Just family stuff." I took my phone to the corner, typed the amount, and watched the screen glow in the warm kitchen light. My thumb hovered for a second, then pressed send. The confirmation chimed like a tiny alarm I pretended not to hear. The next morning, my mother called again, lighter, almost cheerful. "You're a lifesaver, Anna. Tell Amir he's a blessing. It's from both of us, Mom." "Sure, honey, but we both know who earns more." My mouth went dry. Right. Amir came in with coffee. "Your mom said thanks?" "Yeah, she thanked you." He frowned. "I didn't do anything." "Exactly," I said, half a laugh, half a sting. He didn't laugh back. 1 month later, the second request arrived by text. "Just until next month, sweetheart. Dad's back still hurts." Amir read it over my shoulder and let out a long breath. "Again?" he asked. "Guess we're the family's emergency fund now," I tried, hoping a joke would make it easier. He didn't smile. I sent the money. This time I didn't say just this once. The thank you hearts popped up on my screen while the dishwasher hummed. I put the phone face down and dried my hands like it was any other bill. At my parents' house the following weekend, the table held pancakes, berries, a bowl of whipped cream my mother whisked like she was beating back bad weather. She told the story loud enough for everyone. "You know," she said, patting my arm, "Amir's such a provider. She needed that kind of man." "I work too, Mom," I said, steady but tight. "Of course, honey. But we both know who makes the real difference." My father smiled, nodding along like it was a prayer. I stared at my coffee, thumb pressing into the handle until it hurt. I changed the subject to the weather and pretended that was normal. In the car after, the wipers beat a slow, even line across the windshield. Amir kept his eyes on the road. Does she always talk like that? She doesn't mean anything by it. She means enough to make you go quiet every time. She's just old-fashioned. "That's not old-fashioned," he said. "That's disrespectful." I watched the neighborhood blur into identical houses. I didn't argue. I hated that I didn't argue. 2 months later, the requests multiplied. Hospital bill, just a small one. A week later, your sister's car broke down. Then, your cousin's tuition. All of it urgent, all of it just this once. My banking app started to feel like a confession booth. The numbers fell in neat obedience. I stared at it for a long minute, typed, "Guess not," then deleted it, then typed it again and sent. My hand shook a little. I set the phone down and felt, not guilt, but a kind of tired I couldn't sleep off. My mother arrived that weekend with a bakery box and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She looked around our living room, taking in the tidy shelves, the clean rug, the plants that somehow stayed alive. "You've changed since you married him," she said lightly. "More careful with money." "It's called budgeting, Mom." "Oh, we never worried about that when you lived here." "We always shared." "I share," I said, "just not when it starts to feel like debt." The room tightened. She let out a small laugh. "You sound just like him." I looked past her, out the window to the pale winter sky. Maybe that's not a bad thing. She left earlier than planned. The bakery box sat open on the counter, frosting caved in on one corner like it had been handled too hard. That night, the TV flickered while Amir scrolled headlines with the sound off. I sat beside him with my laptop open and nothing to write. "You can't keep buying peace, Anna," he said without looking up. "I'm not buying peace," I whispered. "I'm keeping quiet." "That's the same thing." I shut the laptop and turned off the lamp. The room went soft and dark. We stayed close and didn't touch. I could hear him breathing. I could hear my own heart. The next week, I sent nothing. The chat stayed cold. My mother didn't call. I convinced myself this was what boundaries felt like, blank space where noise used to be. On Thursday night, my phone buzzed while I was rinsing dishes. Chloe again. Mom says Dad's pills cost a fortune this month. Must be nice to ignore that from your bigger house. I dried my hands slowly and typed, I'm here if you want to talk, not to be used. I erased it. I tried again. Call me. I deleted that too. I sent nothing. My throat burned. I found Amir in the garage, fixing the loose hinge on the cabinet we kept meaning to replace. He looked up at me, waiting. They want more, I said. Of course they do. I'm the only one who can. That's not true, he said. You're just the one who always does. But she didn't call tomorrow. She texted Sunday morning instead. Mass was beautiful today. Father James preached about generosity. A neat period at the end, like a tap on the shoulder. At dinner that night, Amir made chicken and potatoes and set the table like he always did when I looked worn down. Halfway through the meal, he put his fork down. Look at me, he said. I looked. You're allowed to say no. It's my family. So say no and still love them. That's not how they love. He nodded like he knew. Then love them in a way that doesn't end you. I didn't answer. I cut my chicken and felt the knife scrape the plate. The next day, Chloe's name flashed with a call. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted, So this is who you are now? You get a husband and become stingy? I typed, Don't talk about my marriage to punish me. I erased it. I typed, Stop asking me for money. I erased that too. I put the phone in the drawer and closed it hard. On Friday, the doorbell rang. My mother stood there with a casserole and the look she wears when she's decided to be kind while delivering a lecture. I know you're stressed, she began, stepping inside. Money makes people act ugly. Hi, Mom, I said. She set the dish on the counter and removed the foil like it needed air. We never kept score in this family. That's not true, I said softly. You just never wrote it down. Her mouth tightened. Your father doesn't need this stress. Neither do I. You sound ungrateful. I'm tired, I said. There's a difference. She gave me the long stare she used to give when I came home late in high school. Then she smoothed her coat and left without the casserole. That night, Amir didn't say, I told you so. He sat with me in the quiet. We watched nothing. We listened to the house creak like a living thing. He touched my shoulder, not asking, just there. On Sunday at brunch, I cracked first and opened the family chat. The top message was from Chloe from the night before. We had to borrow from Aunt Marie. Hope you're happy. Under it, a picture of their kitchen table crowded with pill bottles and utility bills, framed to look like a crime scene with me as the suspect. I typed, I'm sorry about Dad's pain. I can't be the only plan. Don't, Amir said gently. You don't owe them an essay. I stared at the blinking cursor like it could choose for me. Then I closed the app. The week crawled. The silence thickened. At work, I paused over every coffee break, checking my phone for a message that wasn't more need dressed as love. It never came. Saturday evening, my mother called from an unknown number. I picked up out of reflex. Your sister told me you're upset, she said without preamble. Let's not make this public. It's embarrassing for everyone. You mean for you, I said. A beat, then she sighed. Don't speak to me that way, Anna. Then don't speak to me like a wallet. The line went dead. I didn't call back. I leaned my head against the wall and stood there until the cool paint dulled the heat in my face. That night, Amir and I lay on the couch. The TV murmured. My phone slept on the coffee table face down. He reached for my hand, and I let him. We didn't talk about my family. We didn't talk about money. We were quiet in a way that felt like we were both trying to hold the roof up with our backs. Morning came gray and thin. I brewed coffee and watched the steam rise. My phone stayed still. No missed calls, no thank yous, no little hearts to sweeten the ask. I took a breath and said it out loud. Not to pick a fight and not to win one, just to name what the week had taught me. I learned family debt doesn't come with interest, I said into the empty kitchen. It comes with guilt. I poured the coffee, set the mug on the table, and let the house be quiet. The morning started easy. Sun through the blinds, cereal bowls clinking, Layla coloring at the table with her tongue between her teeth like drawing was a job. She held up the card she made and bounced in place. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad," she said, every letter big and careful. Amir kissed her hair. "Best artist in town." I set plates down, snapped a picture of the three of us on the couch. Me in sweats, Amir in an old college tee, Layla half in my lap and half in midair. "I don't post much anymore." He nudged my shoulder. "Post it," he said. "You never post." I stared at the photo for a second, then wrote, 5 years, still grateful, still growing. I hit share. The phone buzzed almost instantly. "Beautiful family. You both look so happy." I smiled at the first few and poured coffee. The next ones came just as fast. "She used to look happier before. Hope he treats you right." I scrolled. A name I didn't recognize popped up. Didn't she cut off her family for him? Another account replied, "Yeah, she forgot where she came from." Amir leaned over my shoulder. "It's just Facebook." "It's my whole town," I said. He rubbed my back. "Then don't read it." I set the phone face down on the counter. It dinged again and again, steady as a faucet that won't shut off. We cleaned up breakfast. Layla tried to feed the dog a Cheerio and laughed when he sneezed. The phone kept lighting up. My eyes stayed on the screen until the words fuzzed. Layla tugged my sleeve. "Mommy?" I locked the phone and smiled. "Coming, baby." My voice sounded normal. My hands did not feel normal. By evening, the post had been shared to 3 other neighborhood groups. I reported it. Nothing happened. I scrolled back to my own page out of habit and saw a small line under the original photo. Nancy Thompson liked this. I froze. Amir was next to me on the couch, legs stretched out, remote in his hand. He noticed. "What is it?" he asked. "Nothing," I said, too quickly. I locked the screen and turned it face down. The screen lit up again and flashed on the wood like a heartbeat. "Ignore it," he said. "I can't ignore my mother." He looked up at the ceiling and didn't answer. The next morning I called her on the way to work. "Mom, did you like that post?" "What post?" "The one where they're talking about me and Amir." "Oh, that one. I didn't even read it, honey. I just saw a picture of you and clicked like." "You didn't read it?" "You're overreacting again," she said, voice light like she was swatting a fly. "You always say that when I ask you to care." "I care," she said, sharper now. "You just keep bringing shame into everything." I gripped the steering wheel. "They're attacking my marriage." "You know how people talk," she said. "Just stay out of it." "They're talking because you let them." She hung up. The empty line clicked in my ear like a door closing. At the office, I heard my name before I saw faces. 2 coworkers stood by the copier. One lowered her voice when I walked past. "That's her," she whispered. "The Facebook thing." I kept moving. I opened my laptop and missed the password twice. An email pinged. "Reminder, team lunch tomorrow." A new line sat at the bottom. "No phones allowed. We don't need another viral post, ha-ha." No smiley face. Just the joke, heavy as a stone. I stayed late to avoid the break room. When I finally headed home, the sky was already sliding toward gray. In the living room, Amir tapped through headlines with the sound off. I sat in the chair near the lamp and opened the app again. "Why do you keep checking it?" he asked. "Because it's there." "Then delete." Amir came back from taking out the trash, took the phone, and held the power button until the screen went black. "Don't look at it," he said. "It's already looked at me," I said. He placed the phone on the shelf like something fragile and sat on the floor next to my chair. He didn't touch me. He just stayed there. The room felt full of unsaid things. I woke up early the next day, before the sun, and opened the app one more time. My finger hovered over my own post. "Are you sure you want to delete?" the prompt asked. I pressed yes. My page went blank. No photo, no comments. No proof the morning had ever been good. Amir walked in, rubbing his eyes. "Better?" "Quieter," I said. "Same thing." "No," I said. "Quiet isn't the same as peace." He nodded like he understood and poured coffee. The dog scratched at the back door. Life kept doing its small, normal things while my stomach refused to settle. At lunch, I tried to eat a salad at my desk. A message from a colleague popped up. "Ignore them. People are bored." Another followed. But for what it's worth, maybe keep your personal stuff off social. Less fuel, you know? I typed, "Thanks," and deleted it. I typed, "Got it," and deleted that too. I closed the chat and stared at the cursor until the screen dimmed. Driving home, I passed the park where we take Layla on Sundays. A woman from the PTA spotted me at a red light and gave a small wave, then looked away like she regretted it. My chest went tight. I eased the car forward when the light changed and kept both hands on the wheel like I was taking a test. That night, after Layla's bath, while Amir read her a story, I went out to the porch. The air had that damp chill the city gets before rain. Across the street, a couple carried in groceries and laughed about something I couldn't hear. I set the phone on the table and didn't touch it. It buzzed anyway. A stranger's message. "Tell him to go back home." Another. "You didn't deserve him." I blocked the accounts one by one. My hand shook. The shaking made me angry. I put the phone down and pressed my palms to the table until they stilled. The front door opened. Amir stepped out, leaned against the frame. "You coming in?" "In a minute," I said. He nodded. In bed, Amir reached for my hand. I let him hold it. Neither of us said, "I'm sorry." Neither of us said, "It will pass." We lay there while the house settled and the heater clicked on and off. After he fell asleep, I got up and went back to the porch. The phone sat where I left it. The screen reflected a thin slice of moon. I switched it on, opened nothing, and let it be a blank, lit square in my palm. "They called it gossip," I said, keeping my voice low so it wouldn't wake the house. I called it character assassination. I put the phone face down and stayed outside until the cold made my fingers numb. Then I went in, locked the door, and sat at the kitchen table in the dark. I didn't try to fix anything. I didn't scroll. I waited for the quiet to turn into something I could live with. They posted the line like it was kindness. The whole family together. I stared at the screen, flour on my fingers, batter smoking in the pan, and felt the room tilt. I didn't see me. I didn't see Amir. I saw a cake, gold balloons, arms around shoulders, and on the wall behind the head table a blown-up photo of my parents' real family. Amir's face was cleanly cut out of the old image like he never existed. Layla tugged my apron. "Mommy, why do you look sad?" I flipped a blackened pancake onto a plate and said, "Grandma had a big party." "Why weren't we there?" she asked. I swallowed, turned off the stove, and aimed for steady. Maybe they forgot. I took the phone to the sink and wiped the screen with a dish towel, as if the smear was the problem. A red tag blinked again. Comments climbed under the photo. Hearts, confetti, inside jokes about childhood summers. My name sat small above the post. "You've been tagged." I untagged myself and opened a message window. "We weren't invited?" I typed. The dots moved, stopped, returned. "We didn't want you to feel uncomfortable," my mother wrote. I leaned against the counter. "Uncomfortable being seen?" No answer. The smell of burnt sugar thinned into the hallway. Layla scraped her fork against the plate. The phone buzzed once more. A single heart emoji. I put the phone down on the cool granite and left it face up, the red heart pulsing back at me like... At home, I dialed. My voice was even when she picked up. "You didn't invite us." "Sweetheart, it was just a small thing." "Family only," she said. "We're family." "You know what I mean." I let the silence spread because I wanted her to hear it. "I really don't." "I just didn't want anyone to make a scene," she murmured. "Your father worries when things get tense." "You mean when Amir's there?" "Don't twist my words." "I don't have to. They twist themselves." A sigh like a door closing. "You're always looking for a fight." "No, Mom. I'm tired of pretending it's not happening." She paused, then chose the knife she always used. "You'll understand when you have kids." I looked across the room to where Layla knelt on the rug, building a crooked tower out of plastic bricks. "I already do," I said, and hung up first. The stairwell felt cooler than the rest of the house. I sat 3 steps from the top and watched dust drift through light. Amir found me there, sleeves rolled, phone in his hand. "What happened?" I handed him mine. He scrolled, jaw locked, eyes tightening at my sister's comment, at the photo on the wall, at the heart emoji. He gave the phone back without speaking. "They said they didn't want me to feel uncomfortable," I said. "They got what they wanted," he answered. I smiled without sound. Yeah, comfortable silence. He lowered himself beside me, knee against mine, voice soft but steady. "You can't keep trying to belong to people who need you to disappear." "They're still my family." "Then let them act like it." I nodded and looked down again. My hands were shaking, but I hid them under my thighs and held still until the tremble passed. 2 days later, I went to the store for apples and milk. In the produce aisle, 2 women stood close to the Honeycrisps, heads tipped together, voices lowered. "I saw the family post. They all looked so happy," one said. "Yeah, I didn't know she stopped talking to them," the other replied. I turned a gala in my palm and put it back. My cart wheels squeaked across the tile. Near the end cap, another woman leaned toward a friend and said, "Maybe her husband didn't fit in." The plastic bag in my hand squealed as I gripped it, then sagged when I let go. I left the cart half full and walked out into the parking lot with nothing. In the driver's seat, I caught the mascara smear with my thumb and pressed it away. My phone rang where I'd thrown it into the cup holder. Chloe. "Hey, you saw the photos?" she asked, voice light, as if we were swapping recipes. "Yeah." "Mom felt bad you weren't there." "She didn't invite me." "Well, she thought it might be awkward. You know how people can be." "No, Chloe. I know how you can be." "Wow, okay, you've changed, Anna." "No, I just stopped pretending this doesn't hurt." "You're too sensitive, and you're too proud to say sorry." She went quiet long enough for me to hear the radio bleed from her side. Then she tried the soft angle. "Mom's tired." "Don't make this harder." "I didn't make it hard." "You did when you made it public." "It was just a picture," she snapped. "So was the one you cut him out of." There was a click, and then I was alone with the ding of another notification wishing my grandparents long life. That night, after Layla fell asleep with marker on her fingers, I opened the cabinet where we kept old frames. The wedding photo, me in sleeved lace, Amir grinning like he'd been handed the whole future, sat behind a glass pane with a crack across the corner. I eased it out, wiped the dust with my t-shirt, and set it on the living room shelf at eye level. Amir watched from the doorway, towel over his shoulder. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, adjusting the frame until it was perfectly straight. "Just making sure we're still visible somewhere." He studied the photo, then me. A tired smile bent his mouth. "We always were. They just refused to look." I pressed the frame with both palms like I was sealing it to the house. The next morning, I woke early. The house was quiet except for the filter humming over the fish tank. My phone lit up with a new message from my mother. "Hope we can move past this drama soon." I sat with it, the glow of the screen on my knee, then set it face down without replying. At work, I felt the eyes before I heard the whisper. The elevator opened on the 3rd floor and 2 coworkers stopped their conversation mid-sentence. At my desk, someone had put an extra line onto the team lunch announcement. "No phones allowed. We don't need another viral post, ha ha." I deleted the email and opened a spreadsheet I couldn't focus on. I typed numbers that didn't add up and backspaced until the column cleared. On my break, I took my coffee to the courtyard and called home. "How's the castle?" I asked Layla. "It's a hospital now," she said. "I'm fixing the blocks. Grandma says hospitals fix people." My throat tightened. "They try," I said. Amir took the phone and told me to come home early. I didn't. I logged another hour, then another, as if distance could cool the sting chewing at the edges of my day. When I pulled into the driveway, evening had taken the color out of the sky. The neighbor's porch glowed with warm bulbs and the sound of a birthday song. Inside our kitchen, the counter held a bowl of grapes and a note from Amir. "Took Layla to the park." I stood there, listening to the fridge run and the tick of the thermostat, and the quiet that comes when a house is waiting for you to decide what kind of home it will be. My phone lit again. Chloe, this time by text. "You always think you're the victim. Family has to protect itself." I typed, "From what?" and erased it. I typed, "From who?" and erased that too. Then the cursor blinked on a blank screen until the lock timer dimmed it. When Amir and Layla returned, he watched me as she kicked off her shoes and ran to show me a leaf shaped like a heart. "We made wishes," she said. "Mine was for more cake." I scooped her up and kissed her hair. "That's a good wish," I said. We ate grapes and leftover pasta. We read the book she always asked for twice. We tucked her in with 3 stuffed animals and a 4th when she asked, because tonight she needed extra. In the living room, I turned the phone in my hands like a stone. No, quiet isn't the same as peace. We sat together without speaking. He reached for my hand. I let him take it, and for a while the only sound in the room was our daughter's white noise machine through the wall. Later, when the house had gone still, I took a blanket to the couch and opened the last message I hadn't answered. "Hope we can move past this drama soon." I stared until the words separated, then came together again as something I recognized. We made a choice. Live with it. My thumb hovered above the keyboard and fell away. Outside, a neighbor's laughter drifted across the grass from another porch I wasn't standing on. I switched the phone to silent and set it on the coffee table. In the dim light, the frame on the shelf caught a soft reflection. Me and Amir, mouths open mid-laugh, the day we promised to show up for each other when other people didn't. I leaned back, folded the blanket under my chin, and let my breathing even out. "They said it was just a photo," I said out loud to the empty room, the words steady now. "It was a door." I let the sentence hang, then gave it the end it wanted. That night, I learned you can be erased politely. The desk phone rang once, sharp and formal. "Hi, Anna, can you step into HR for a minute?" I stood up too fast and smoothed my skirt like that could fix the heat rising in my neck. White lights, carpet that swallowed sound. I passed Ben at the copier. He didn't look up. The HR door clicked behind me. A folder with my name sat in the center of the table like it had been waiting all morning. "Thanks for coming," the HR manager said, gentle voice, careful smile. "We received an anonymous complaint about potential misuse of company funds." I laughed before I could stop myself. "What funds?" "Someone suggested you've been transferring budget resources to your husband's business." She kept her hands folded. "We just have to check." "It's standard procedure. I don't even approve vendors," I said, "and my husband doesn't have a business with us." "Understood. This should be quick." She slid a paper across the table and opened a tab on her laptop. The mouse clicked, steady and cold. "In the meantime, per policy, we'll limit your access to..." At home, Amir was sliding a pan out of the oven, sleeves pushed up, the house warm with garlic and heat. "You're late," he said, smiling. "I thought you escaped." "Someone filed a complaint," I said, dropping my bag on the chair. "HR, they think I'm funneling money to your business." He stared, then laughed, waiting for the joke. "You're kidding." "I wish I was." The smile fell off his face. "Who'd even say that?" "It was anonymous." He set the pan down too hard. Oil hissed. "Your family?" I picked up a glass and filled it too full. Water spilled over my hand. I didn't answer. He turned the burner off and stood very still. "Anna." "I don't know," I said. "I don't know." The next day at work, I tried to keep my voice even, my emails crisp, my eyes on the screen. At lunch, Cassandra pulled me into the hallway near the vending machines where the light flickered and the floor smelled like old coffee. "Hey," she said low. "Just so you know, your brother-in-law works at Treston, right? He was in a supplier meeting last week when your name came up." "What meeting?" I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed. "Forget I said that." I didn't forget. I walked straight to the restroom, locked a stall, and pressed my palms to my knees until the stall stopped drifting under me. That night, after Layla fell asleep, I called Chloe. She answered on the second ring like she'd been practicing her tone. "Did you tell people I stole money from work?" I asked. "What? Of course not," she said. "Why would you even say that?" "Someone in your husband's company said it came from there." "I didn't say it like that." "Then how did you say it?" A pause, then a sigh that sounded rehearsed. I just mentioned that you and Amir keep separate accounts and that his work's been slow. People draw their own conclusions. You handed them the dots, I said. Don't act surprised they connected them. Don't blame me for people talking, she snapped. You made it easy. By existing? The line went quiet and then dead. The call from my mother came right after, like she'd been standing beside Chloe waiting for her cue. What's going on? She asked, tired voice, not tired at all. Chloe said you accused her of something, of spreading something that could get me fired. You're making the family look bad. No, Mom, I said. You did that for me. Silence. I heard her breathing through her nose, a patient, controlled sound. You've changed, she said softly. You used to care what people thought. I still do, just not at the expense of my sanity. I hung up before I had to hear her tell me to calm down. On Wednesday, the conference room felt 10 degrees colder. I set up the slide deck and clicked through the agenda while the team filed in. Conversations dropped mid-sentence. That's her, someone whispered. Someone else shuffled papers to make a different sound. Let's begin, I said. My smile hurt my face. Midway through, my reflection flashed in the black edge of the TV screen. Small, warped, like I'd been squeezed from the edges. I missed my place and had to backtrack. No one helped. When the meeting ended, people stacked chairs that didn't need stacking. 2 colleagues lingered in the doorway, not quite willing to leave, not brave enough to stay. I walked past them and thanked them for their time, my voice the most normal thing in the room. Friday at 4:17, HR called me back. You're cleared, the manager said. Everything checks out. We'll close the report. Who filed it? I asked. Anonymous, she said. We can't disclose that. Of course, I said. My mouth made a shape that was not a smile. I walked the long way back to my desk. A message from a project lead popped up. Glad it's resolved. Another, a thumbs up emoji. A third, must have been stressful. Drinks next week? No one said sorry. No one said I didn't believe it. The air went back to normal, which somehow felt worse. On the drive home, I watched the turn signal blink in the windshield, the same green eye opening and closing. At a red light, my phone buzzed with a next-door notification. Anyone hear about the woman at Axiom under investigation? I didn't open it. I didn't have to. Amir was in the garage, bent over the workbench with a headlamp on, fixing a toy car he'd promised Layla. The garage smelled like soap and damp cardboard. He switched the light off when he saw me. They cleared me, I said. I leaned against the door frame and let the cool metal press into my shoulder blades. That's good, he said, careful voice. It's not over, I said. They believed it. He set the tiny screwdriver down and looked at me for a long time. Because they wanted to. I swallowed. My throat hurt like I'd run without water. It wasn't a lie that broke me, I said, and the words felt like they were walking themselves out. It was how easily they believed it. He nodded once, the smallest movement. The garage door rattled as it slid down and sealed against the floor, clean and final. That night I lay in bed and counted the quiet sounds. Layla's foot thumping the wall in her sleep, the heater sighing on, a car passing, music muffled to a heartbeat. I got up and went to the kitchen for water I didn't want. The clock on the stove blinked 12:03, wrong since the last power outage. My phone lit up on the counter, a text from a neighbor I barely knew. Ignore the noise! People love drama. Another from a coworker. If you need anything, I'm around. The ones who had watched me all week were now proud of their kindness. I typed, thank you, and erased it. I typed, I'm fine, and erased that too. I put the phone face down and turned the kitchen light off. On Saturday morning, I carried a grocery list in one hand and Layla's palm in the other. At the store, 2 women stood by the apples, heads close. I saw the thread, one of them said. HR got involved. Seriously? The other one said, eyes widening. I thought it was just Facebook. They looked up and saw me, their faces smoothed into boredom. Excuse me, I said, reaching past them to pick a bruised Honeycrisp. The skin dented under my thumb. Back in the car, I swiped the black stains from under my eyes with my sleeve. Layla kicked her heels against the seat and sang the wrong words to a song she loved. I said nothing. I didn't trust my voice not to shake. At home, Amir spread the groceries on the counter. "You're white as paper," he said quietly. "I'm tired," I said. He waited. "We could go somewhere," he said, "just for the day. They'll still be here when we get back." He set down a carton of eggs like it might break if he breathed too loud. "I hate that this is happening to you." "It's happening to us," I said. "They used your name, too." He nodded, jaw tight, and started putting the cans away. We moved around each other like people who had learned a choreography without music. Sunday night, I called my mother one more time. I stood by the window and watched the neighbor's porch light blink on and off as a motion detector caught a raccoon. "You know they cleared me," I said. "That's good," she said. Dishes clinked in the background. "Then there's nothing to worry about." Except the part where everyone believed it. "You need to stop reading things online. It's bad for your nerves. It's bad for my life," I said. She sighed into the phone like a teacher. "You always make things bigger than they are. You always make them smaller." "I won't do this with you," she said, and hung up. I stared at the reflection of my face in the dark glass until it stopped looking like someone I recognized. Then I turned away from it on purpose. On Monday, the building smelled like lemon cleaner and burnt coffee again. I walked by a cluster of people sharing a joke, and my name slid into the pause afterward like a coin under a door. In the afternoon, I passed the HR manager in the hall. She offered a soft smile. I nodded and kept walking. I finished my reports. I adjusted a forecast. I set up a call for Tuesday and wrote the invitations as if nothing had happened to the person sending them. When I shut my laptop at 5, my hands shook for the first time since the first phone call. I tucked them into my pockets and breathed until it stopped. At home, the garage door rose open into late light. Amir was kneeling on the concrete, drawing a racetrack in chalk for Layla. She drove her repaired toy car in bright circles and shouted, "Faster!" He looked up at me, not asking, not promising anything he couldn't keep. I raised a hand. He raised one back. We ate dinner with the windows open. The neighbor's wind chime clinked a steady note. I told a story about a colleague's dog wearing a sweater. Amir told a story about a customer who insisted on paying in quarters. We laughed the way you laugh when you're careful not to bump a bruise. After dishes, after bedtime, after the last light in the house went off, we stood in the garage again, like the night had a groove and we'd fallen into it. "They cleared you," Amir said, as if saying it made it more real. "Yeah," I said, "they did." He watched me for a long second. "You still look accused." "I am," I said, "just not on paper." He breathed out through his nose. The garage door rumbled as he pulled the handle down. It met the ground with a neat thud that traveled up my spine and settled there, a small, hard thing that wouldn't move. Amir didn't look up from his phone. They turned down the promotion. I set a bowl of cereal in front of Layla and tried to catch his eyes. "Why?" "No reason given." He swallowed, kept scrolling, but my manager said something about integrity concerns. My hand missed the coffee mug the first time. Integrity? Someone's been talking. Again, Layla shuffled in wearing both shoes on the same foot. I crouched to fix them. She laughed when I kissed her knees. Amir's spoon scraped the bowl. None of us said anything else. After I dropped Layla at school, the kitchen was too clean and too quiet. I wiped a spotless counter. Amir tied his tie without the mirror. "I'll call you at lunch," I said. He nodded like he didn't trust his voice. At pickup, I walked Layla home. A neighbor sprayed her lawn and smiled like her mouth hurt. "Rough few weeks, huh?" she said. "People say all sorts of things online. Just don't let it get to you." "What things?" I asked. She blinked, glanced at the sidewalk. "Oh, you know. The email thing." I stepped closer. "What email?" Never mind. She turned the hose back to the grass. Water ran across her driveway and into the street. Layla tugged my hand. I kept walking. At home, Amir had dinner half prepped, and his jaw clenched. He handed me his phone. Look. The message read, "Just a heads up, there's an anonymous email going around saying you two launder money through her company." He pulled up the email. It was longer than most articles I'd ever read. Timestamps, numbers pulled from public records, a fake confidence in every sentence. People are starting to wonder. People remember what happened at her office. People say he sends money overseas. Amir's finger hovered over the screen. We need to do something. Like what? Get a lawyer. I rinsed a carrot under the tap until it broke in half. The law office smelled like toner and lemon wipes. The woman in the gray suit shook both our hands and waited for us to sit. No framed degrees, no personal photos, just a stapler and a clock. Defamation cases are messy, she said, but employment damage is measurable. So is loss of income. So is reputational harm if it's traceable. It is, I said. He lost a promotion this morning. Amir set the printed email on her desk. She read the first page, then the second, then skimmed the rest. A printer in the bullpen started humming. Who would want to ruin you? She asked. Family, I said. She didn't flinch. Do you have proof? Not yet, Amir answered, but we have a pattern. She nodded. We'll subpoena the provider. If the origin ties to a person, we file. If it ties to a circle, we file wider. She looked at me. It will be public record. Okay. Anna, she said softer, this will get ugly. I folded my hands so my fingers would stop shaking. It already is. A week later, my phone buzzed while I was stirring pasta shells. I wiped my hands and saw her number. The email's from a personal account, our lawyer said. It belongs to Diane Hunter. I closed my eyes. My mother's friend. She and your mother share a lot of contacts. The language matches other posts. We can make a strong argument. That's enough? It's enough to file. Do it. When I hung up, steam fogged the kitchen window. Amir walked in, reading my face before. Mom, I said, if you didn't write it, you can still tell the truth now. I'm not talking about this on the phone, she snapped. You always twist things. I looked at the sink piled with cold pasta, at the floor dotted with water. You twist them yourself, I said, and ended the call. Chloe posted at 9:12 p.m. Imagine suing your mother because you can't handle criticism. By 9:20, her friends had shared it. By 10 o'clock, our graduation year group had comments. By midnight, neighbors I recognized from the bus stop chimed in. She's always thought she was better. That husband must be behind it. Money changes people. Poor Nancy. Amir came up behind me on the couch. Turn it off. No, I said. Why would you read it? I want to see what they think I am. He reached for the phone. I moved it to my lap. We stared at each other for a long moment, both stubborn, both tired. He sat down beside me and didn't touch me. The notification slowed to a steady drip. Somewhere past 1 in the morning, I closed my eyes, and the room finally went quiet. On the first court date, the county building smelled like damp paper and coffee burned hours ago. The clerk called the case. Thompson versus Morgan et al. Hearing my old name out loud felt like walking into a house you moved out of. I nodded. Present. Mom sat across the aisle in a pale sweater, hands folded. Her mouth trembled when she saw Layla's drawing peeking from my purse pocket. Chloe stared at a scuff on the floor. Our lawyer touched my elbow. Stay calm. The other side spoke first. Family misunderstanding, differences in communication, no intent to harm. A community-wide concern about financial propriety, a well-meaning attempt to gather facts. When it was my turn, my voice surprised me. It came out even, not loud, not shaking. My family didn't misunderstand, I said. They humiliated. They accused. They lied. A pen stopped clicking behind me. "I'm the one who sat in HR while strangers dug through my accounts," I said. "I'm the one who watched coworkers look down when I walked by. I'm the one who explained to my daughter why her dad was sad at breakfast." I didn't cry. Outside the courtroom, the lights were too blue. I leaned against a wall that needed paint. Amir stepped into my space, not touching me, but close enough that I could feel his breathing slow down. "We'll win," he said. "That's not what this is," I said. "Then what is it?" "It's proof," I said, "that I exist the way I said I did." He nodded once. "Okay." The clerk called us back. We took our seats. The judge spoke about process and timelines and discovery. His voice bounced off plastic chairs and tired faces. I listened to the shape of the words, not the words themselves. When he finished, the room emptied fast. On the courthouse steps, drizzle collected on my hairline. Amir opened an umbrella and held it over me. I didn't step under it. We stood like that, close and misaligned, listening to the rain. Someone near the door whispered, "That's the woman suing her mom." My mother paused on the top step. She waited for me to look up. I didn't. She walked past with Chloe, who avoided turning her head. The sound of their heels faded down the sidewalk. We walked the other way. I didn't hold the umbrella. Amir didn't force it. Our shoes echoed on the wet concrete until the street swallowed the sound. We waited for the elevator in the parking garage. The light flickered. Amir pressed the button twice, even though it didn't help. A man in a baseball cap glanced at us and looked away. In the car, I turned on the heat. Amir's hands were still shaking a little. He put them on the vents. Outside, the rain tapped the windshield in a thin, busy rhythm. He said, "We did the right thing." I nodded. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number read, "You'll regret this." I blocked it and slid the phone face down in the cup holder. Amir drummed 2 fingers on his knee. "I keep thinking about breakfast," he said. "How I told Layla to hurry. How I couldn't look at you." "You looked at me now," I said. "I will. Next time," he said. At a red light, a teenage boy held a cardboard sign at the corner. Cars rolled by. A driver handed out a water bottle. The boy smiled like he'd just been invited to sit at a table. The light changed. Amir pulled forward. We got home before dark. Layla ran from the neighbor's porch where she'd been waiting, and I picked her up like she was still 3 and not almost 5. She pressed her forehead to my cheek. I washed 2 glasses and filled them with water from the tap. I handed one to him. We drank standing up, not talking. The garage door thumped as wind shifted outside. He said, "I don't want to be angry all the time." "Then don't," I said. He looked at me as if that had never occurred to him. We stood there until the silence felt like furniture. Then he reached for my hand. I let him have it. Later, when the house was finally quiet and Layla's door clicked shut behind me, I stepped onto the porch. The rain had lightened to a clean mist. Across the street, the neighbor had left her hose coiled but still dripping over the sidewalk. Amir opened the door and leaned against the frame. "Want a sweatshirt?" "I'm fine," I said. He nodded and watched me breathe in the damp air. The printer hum from the law office came back to me like a ghost sound. All those pages, all those names, all that evidence. Not a movie ending, not justice with a ribbon, just a record. I spoke softly, not performing it, not dressing it up. I just said what was true. "In court, I wasn't fighting them," I said. "I was fighting the version of me they'd invented." Amir didn't answer. He stepped beside me in the drizzle and didn't reach for the umbrella. We stood there until the porch light went off on its own and the night took us in. Morning slid in through the blinds and lit the crumbs on the counter. I stood at the coffee machine, watching the stream darken, phone buzzing against the fruit bowl like a trapped insect. "Mom," Layla said, padding in with one sock on, "Mrs. Carson said you're famous." I kept my eyes on the cup. "Did she?" "Yeah, everyone was talking about you on TikTok." The stream missed the rim and splashed the saucer. I turned the machine off. The drip kept going. "About what?" I asked. She shrugged, hunting for the other sock. "Something with Grandma?" The phone buzzed again. I wiped the spill with a dish towel and set the mug out of reach. "Eat your yogurt," I said. The kitchen went quiet enough to hear the last stubborn drips. The school gym smelled like floor polish and paper. Folding chairs faced a sagging banner, "Welcome, parents." I walked in, late enough to slide into the back. "Anna," the PTA president chirped, smile too wide. "So good to see you back. We weren't sure you'd, want to come." "I still have a kid here," I said, taking a seat. She laughed too loudly. "Of course you do." Two mothers in front leaned toward each other. "She's the one with that lawsuit." "Against her mom." I stared at the banner. No one turned around. No one said my name loud enough to own it. Sign-up sheets moved down the rows. When mine came back, my column stayed empty. The paper shook a little in my hands. I folded it in half and left it on the chair. The grocery store was bright enough to sting. I pushed a cart past the apples and saw the couple from the cul-de-sac. The wife nudged the husband with her elbow. They pivoted into frozen foods. We met again near the crackers. They flinched, then smiled too big. "Oh, hey! Haven't seen you in ages." "You saw me last week," I said. Their smiles slipped. Right, the wife said, and they laughed like people who needed the sound to keep standing. They left their basket and walked away with nothing. The store radio spun something cheerful. My phone buzzed. I opened it. "The woman who sued her mom," full story below. 200,000 views. A voiceover I didn't know retold my life like it belonged to the internet. She married outside her culture, then turned on her own blood. Comments flew past. "Crazy how money makes people forget family. Poor mom. He should go back to where he came from." I scrolled until the app froze. The aisle felt tight, the packaging too loud. I deleted the app. I left the cart half full and walked out empty-handed. At home, I opened Instagram out of habit and hit a wall of message requests. "You're disgusting. Your husband just wanted a green card. Your poor kid. Block, block, block." My thumb shook. I switched hands. The messages kept repopulating like spilled beads. Amir leaned in the doorway. "They only win if we disappear," he said. "I'm not disappearing." "Then stop letting them live in your hands." I shut the screen, dragged open the junk drawer, and dropped the phone between batteries and rubber bands. The drawer thudded shut. The house hummed differently at night. The fridge clicked, the heater sighed, and the street outside tasted like wet metal through the open window. My old coworker Melissa called. "Hey," she said, soft. "I saw everything online." I didn't want to text because it's messy. "Yeah," I said, "it is." I just wanted to say, I still believe you. And if you ever need, "Thank you," I said, cutting in, "but I don't need belief anymore, just space." She was quiet a second. "Space doesn't pay the bills." I laughed once. It sounded like someone else's laugh. "No, but it helps you breathe." "Okay," she said. "Then breathe. And call if you want a coffee that isn't pity." "I will." We sat in the silence together for a few seconds, not rushing off, not stretching it. When we hung up, the room felt an inch wider. A week later, I set the long table with our mismatched plates. Amir lit the string lights on the porch and they glowed like tiny moons across the window. I laid out simple food, roasted chicken, salad, bread. The doorbell rang in short bursts, then faster, like happy taps, and people trickled in. 2 single moms from Layla's class, the young teacher with paint on her fingertips, an immigrant couple Amir worked with who brought a dish the color of sunlight. It started stiff. "So, what do you do? How long have you been here?" The words bumped into each other and fell. Then Layla clanged a fork on a glass and announced, "We're doing compliments, like Ms. Brooks says." She went first, pointing to the teacher. "I like your earrings." The table laughed. It cracked something open. Stories came. One mom talked about fixing a tire in church clothes. The couple described their first grocery store trip and how they'd had to Google the difference between cilantro and parsley. The teacher confessed she'd cried in the staff bathroom after a parent called her too young to be trusted. We laughed, not at her, but with her. The laughter didn't ask for permission. It didn't check who else was in the room. Amir poured wine and didn't look at his phone once. Layla circulated with a stack of napkins like a tiny maitre d', whispering to me, "Everyone here looks happy." "That's because no one's pretending," I said. Later, while we cleared plates, The immigrant husband lifted the dish he'd brought and said, "My mother used to make this when the house needed to smell like hope." We ate the last spoonful straight from the dish, each person grabbing a piece of bread to chase it. Someone put on a playlist from a phone speaker. Someone else clapped off-beat. It was nothing fancy. It felt like oxygen. Halfway through dessert, the doorbell rang again. I opened it to see a neighbor holding a casserole with a Tupperware lid. Her smile was tight, her lipstick too sharp. "We just wanted to check in," she said, peering over my shoulder at the laughter behind me. "Must be hard, all that attention." "It's fine," I said. "People just don't understand why you'd do something like that." I kept my hand on the door. "That's okay. I didn't do it for them." She nodded, cheeks coloring. "Anyway, welcome back to the block." I never left. We stood for a heartbeat, sharing the light from the hall. She looked down at the casserole, then handed it over like a peace offering she didn't know how to make. I took it. "Thanks," I said. She walked away, shoulders tighter than when she'd arrived. I shut the door gently and carried the dish to the counter like it might break. "Who was it?" Amir asked. "Someone who thinks." I stood at the window and watched him pick up cups in the yard. The air smelled like cut grass and lemon rind. My phone buzzed again from the drawer. It vibrated twice and stopped, like a knock you could ignore. I didn't open it. I leaned my hips against the counter and let the quiet settle on my shoulders. Amir looked up and saw me watching. He held up a thumbs up. I held up the casserole like a trophy. He laughed. It landed soft and real. Behind me, the junk drawer started its thin insect hum again. I slid it open, took out the phone, and set it face down. I ran the faucet and rinsed plates while the water kept a steady rhythm. The string lights hummed. Layla breathed heavy on the couch. The house felt like itself for the first time in months. "Hey," Amir said, coming in with a stack of cups. "Do you want to do this every Friday? Make it a thing?" "Yes," I said, and surprised myself with how easily the word came out. He kissed my temple. "Good," he said. "We deserve our own calendar." He took the cups to the sink. We washed in companionable silence. Every time the phone buzzed, I let the sound pass through me like someone else's microwave in someone else's apartment. The pile of dishes shrank. The counter cleared. The drawer stayed closed. When the kitchen was back to its simple bones, I dry-wiped the table, picking up breadcrumbs with the flat of my hand. Amir carried Layla to bed. I turned off the last lamp and left the glow outside to paint the room. In the glass, I saw my own face again. Unfiltered, a little tired, steady. I pulled the back door open and stepped onto the porch. The night held its breath. Somewhere down the block, a television laugh track played for people who wanted jokes written for them. Up here, the laughter we'd made still seemed to float under the eaves. The phone buzzed one last time and went quiet for good. I didn't miss it. I watched the line of our fence, the thick dark of the neighbor's maple, the way our yard didn't need anyone's permission to be ours. Amir came back, slid his hand into mine, and squeezed once, not asking a question. We stood there long enough to hear a car door slam 2 streets over and a dog bark twice in response. He let go and went inside to lock up. I stayed. The porch boards were cool under my feet. Amir walked in, tying his drawstring. "What happened?" "My mother's in the hospital." He stepped closer. "Do you want me to come?" I shook my head, grabbed my keys. "I need to see her alone." The mug I'd poured was still steaming when I shut the door. Rain started on the freeway, light at first, then steady. The wipers slapped and missed, then caught the rhythm. Traffic lights bled into the wet road. A voice on the radio turned to static and then to a soft song. I kept the volume low. At a red light, I looked up at a billboard. Family, where forgiveness begins. I let out one short laugh that had no humor in it and turned into the hospital lot. Inside, everything was too bright. The floor, the walls, the faces. I walked to the desk. "I see you, Nancy Thompson." The receptionist smiled the way people do when they don't know what to say. "Are you family?" I answered before I could think of any other word. "Yes." A nurse led me down a corridor where the machines made a soft, even music. My shoes sounded loud. At the ICU door, I stopped, set my shoulders, and went in. My mother looked small under the white blanket, an oxygen tube at her nose, hair flatter than I'd ever seen it. Her eyes flickered open and tried to focus. "You came," she said, the words rough. "You wanted to see me. And them, my grandkids." "Layla's in school," I said. "Amir's home with her." "He's still with you?" "Yes, Mom, he is." She closed her eyes for a second, not like she was tired, but like she couldn't hold eye contact a moment longer. When she opened them, they were wet and calm at the same time. "I said terrible things." "You did." We let the beeping fill the space. "I was scared," she said. "You stopped needing me." "You should have been proud," I said, "not afraid." The monitor clicked steady beats through our sentences. A nurse moved past the doorway and kept going. The room smelled like hand soap and plastic. Her hand searched the blanket and then found mine. It was lighter than I remembered, bones right under skin. She gripped anyway. "Your father didn't understand," she said. "Neither did I. You chose something we couldn't fit into our story. That's not my fault." "I know." Her eyes were shining. A nurse came in, checked the numbers, adjusted the tube, smiled at me like we were doing a good job, and left. I fixed the blanket near my mother's shoulder. The motion felt backward, like I'd switched places with a woman I used to know. "You were always the strong one," she said. "I learned it from surviving you." She gave a small nod. "That's fair." I pulled the chair closer. All of this, the posts, the gossip, the way everyone pretended, it hurt more than I said. "I know. You watched it happen. I thought ignoring it would make it stop." Her voice thinned. "I didn't realize silence can be its own weapon." We let that sit. The monitor kept time for both of us. She wet her lips. "Can you forgive me?" I kept my voice even. "I already did. I just didn't tell you why." "Because forgiveness isn't a present I give you," I said. "It's a weight I put down. I couldn't carry it anymore." She tried to make a tiny laugh, and it broke into a cough. I reached for a tissue and dabbed her eyes. She closed them and let me. I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear the way she used to do for me when I was sick. Her shoulders lowered a little, like her body understood before her mind did. "Anna," she said, and I looked up. "I thought if I held the line, you'd come back to it." "I didn't leave a line," I said. "I left a door." She blinked hard. "I see that now." Footsteps in the hall. The doctor stepped in with a clipboard. "We're doing okay," he said. "Visiting hours end soon." He checked something, nodded, left us alone again. My mother looked past me toward the window and the rain slipping down the glass. "Tell Layla I love her." "I will." "And tell Amir," she searched for the next word. "Thank you for not giving up on you." I stood. The overhead light cut a clear edge between the bed and the chair. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Her skin was warm and smelled like lotion. "Rest, Mom." I took a step toward the door and then stopped. "Anna?" Her voice was stronger, as if a wire had tightened. "Yeah?" "You turned out braver than I ever was." I nodded. I didn't look back. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. The corridor felt cooler than before. I walked past the nurse's station, past the vending machines, past a family huddled around a phone. In the elevator, nobody spoke. A child counted floors under his breath. When the doors opened, the smell changed from bleach to lobby coffee. I kept going until the automatic doors sighed and I was outside. The rain had softened to a fine mist. I didn't cover my head. It felt clean, not dramatic. Car engines idled, then moved. I crossed the lot. A sedan flashed its lights. Amir sat behind the wheel, both hands on top of it, watching me the way you watch a person who might tell you something you don't want to hear and need to hear anyway. I slid into the passenger seat. The heat hit my cheeks. "How was it?" he asked. "Real." "That's good." "Yeah," I said. "It is." He pulled out slowly. The wipers made long, measured arcs. We passed the billboard on the way out, its message now a rectangle of water and light. Neither of us mentioned it. The hospital faded in the rearview mirror until it was just glow. Traffic was light. We waited at a red light. A woman in scrubs crossed in front of us, hugged her jacket tight, hurried on. The light turned green, and we rolled forward. He reached his hand into the space between us without looking, and I set my hand in his, palm warm on palm. We didn't squeeze. We didn't need to. Houses began again, porches lit, curtains open, someone on a sofa reaching for a remote. A bus stop. A man with a paper bag. The ordinary world kept on, and we joined it. Somewhere a siren went off and then faded. The wipers kept their pace. I told her, I said, still looking straight ahead, that forgiveness isn't a gift. It's a release. Amir nodded once. How did she take it? She let me wipe her eyes, I said. We didn't talk for a while after that. The quiet inside the car felt like a hallway with all the doors closed and no one behind them, safe and empty at the same time. I watched the rain skirt the edge of my window and return in thin lines. We turned onto our street. A neighbor's porch light flicked on as we passed. Our driveway welcomed the tires with the same small bump it always did. He parked. The engine ticked. Neither of us reached for the handles. The rain softened even more, just a seam on the windshield now. I turned my head and met his eyes. Forgiveness isn't for the guilty, I said, and the words felt right in my mouth, solid and plain. It's for the living. He didn't answer with a speech. He just lifted our joined hands and pressed them once to his lips, then let them rest again between us. The house light on our porch was on a timer. It clicked brighter. We got out together and walked to the door. Inside, the smell of coffee still hung in the air from the cup I never drank. I set my keys in the bowl. The heat kicked on. In the next room, the clock on the wall clicked to the next minute. The rain tapped the window like it had decided to stay a little longer. I toed off my shoes and stood on the mat, feeling the weight come off the arches of my feet. Amir hung up his jacket. We didn't turn on any more lights. The kitchen held that early morning stillness again, even though it was afternoon now. I picked up the cold mug and poured the coffee down the sink, watched the dark line disappear. I rinsed it, set it upside down on the rack, and put my hand flat on the counter to steady myself. Not because I was dizzy, because I could. Amir leaned a shoulder against the doorway. "Do you want to call Chloe?" he asked. "Not yet." "Okay." He didn't move closer or away. He stayed there, giving me the space I had asked for at dawn when I said I needed to go alone. Rain pressed its soft sound against the kitchen window. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked and was quiet. I opened the cabinet, took out 2 glasses, filled them with water, handed him one. We drank, standing side by side like people do when there's nothing left to explain. He set his glass down. "You did a hard thing," he said. I nodded. So did she. We stood there until the wipers in my head stopped moving, until the steady in-breath and out-breath of the house matched ours. Then we went to start dinner, not because we were hungry, but because it was time. The rain kept going. The soft piano of the dishwasher motor came on when I pressed start, and that was all. I set 6 plates on the new table and leave no seat at the head. The house is quiet except for the fridge and the wind slipping under the eaves. Rain just passed. The windows are still damp. Layla runs in from the yard with a fist of wildflowers and dirt on her knees. "Can we use these for the table?" "Only if you promise not to eat the petals again." "I'm older now," she says, serious, and I laugh. I find a glass jar, rinse it, and tuck her flowers where everyone will see them. On the counter, Amir's note waits in his neat hand. "They'll be here by 6. You've got this." I breathe, straighten each chair again, then again. Equal distance, equal height. I want the room to say what I don't. The car pulls in right at 6. Layla darts to the door before I can stop her. Nancy steps out, smaller than I remember, Kane careful on the driveway. Chloe and Mike follow, holding a pie with the sticker still on the lid. "Grandma!" Layla cries. "You grew," Nancy says. You shrunk. Layla, I warn. No, she's right, Nancy says, and gives a small laugh that doesn't push too hard on her ribs. There's a pause at the threshold. I wipe my hands on the towel and stand back. Come in, dinner's ready. They move through the living room slow, taking everything in. Layla's drawings on the wall, the photo of me and Amir at the lake, the table that isn't trying to rank anyone. It's beautiful here, Nancy said. I had to. My voice comes out plain. We go quiet. Between courses, Layla goes hunting for dessert like it's a treasure, and I hear the cabinet doors. Nancy folds her napkin into a tidy rectangle and places it in front of her like a white flag. I was cruel, she says. You hurt us. I know. She glances at the chairs, at the jar of wildflowers. But thank you for letting me sit here. You walked in yourself. Her eyes shine but don't spill. I don't expect you to forget. Just thank you for letting me see this. You should have always been welcome, I say. You just had to stop bringing your version of me. Her mouth trembles at the edge. She presses the napkin flat with both hands and nods. Chloe clears her throat. We said awful things. You did, I answer. I didn't think they'd matter. I thought it was just talk. Words always matter, I say, especially when everyone's listening. Mike shifts in his chair. We were wrong, Anna. All of us. I know. Layla returns, holding the pie like a newborn. She sets it down and looks around, proud. Everyone gets the same chair, she declares. No big seats. Even Nancy laughs at that, small and sweet. We cut pieces and pass plates. The laughter sticks around this time. I watch my mother eat like the food is new to her. Chloe keeps folding and refolding her napkin, then catches herself and stops. You made this feel like home, Nancy says. I built it to be one, I tell her. After, we wash and wipe together. Nancy takes the dish towel and moves slow but steady. Chloe stacks plates with care, as if the sound might wake the house. Amir appears in the doorway and nods toward my mother. She nods back. That's all. It's enough for now. I open the kitchen window. Evening air slips in, bringing the wet smell of the yard. Layla hums while brushing crumbs into her palm and blowing them away like wishes. In the glass, my reflection sits beside a line of chairs, all the same height. You were right, Nancy says behind me, voice nearly a breath. About what? Love. It can survive judgment if someone keeps it alive long enough. It took all of us eventually, I say. I don't turn. I don't need to. At the door, Nancy hugs Layla. You're everything good about this family. I got it from Mom, Layla says, without pride, just fact. Nancy faces me next, arms tentative. I step in and meet her halfway. She smells like starch and something floral. The hug is careful, but real. Thank you, she says. Drive safe. Chloe lingers. We'll try harder, she whispers. I know, I answer, not as a promise, just a path. The door closes, the house exhales. Amir switches off the dining room light so only the kitchen glow remains. I rest my palm flat on the table. The wood is warm from plates and elbows and forgiveness that didn't ask to be dramatic. You okay? He asks. Yeah. I look at the chairs, all even. For the first time, I think I am. He kisses my temple and heads upstairs to tuck Layla in. I sit for a moment with half a glass of wine and the after sound of laughter. Plates are clean. The jar of flowers leans a little to one side. Wind moves the curtain like a slow breath. You can lose blood and still build family, I say. Not loud, not for show, just true. I pinch the candle out. The wick sighs. The room stays warm. If this scene moved you, share your take. Would you open the door like Anna did? What would your new table look like? Who gets a seat? And what rules would change? Leave a comment with the choice you'd make in her place. If you want more chapters like this, hit like and subscribe, and tell me what moment you want to hear next.